This actually is the 7th webinar in our series of the future shape of business and how social responsibility will influence business as we move forward. This is about supporting charities, and I think it's relevant as much for the third sector as it is for the public sector and private sector. And it's really saying, is it a business benefit or a cost? There is a long tradition of businesses donating money, goods, or staff time to charitable causes, all of which falls under the umbrella of philanthropy. It's becoming increasingly popular for businesses to support charities, whether that is through donating money, fundraising, or volunteering. This is with good reason, as not only does charity work allow you to support and engage your internal staff, but you can also benefit your business greatly in terms of your customers and your consumers. Today, I've invited Vicky Randall to come and co-present. So Vicky, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Vicky Randall from Connect Charity. I work with businesses and charities to connect them for social good, effectively. So CSR Accreditation is very important to me.
Thank you, Vicky. So I'm going to take control of the screen and share my slide deck. And hopefully everyone can see that okay. And what we'll do is we'll move to the first slide. And really what I want to do is, this is a kind of repeat. It's part of the very first webinar. And actually that was something like 7 or 8 weeks ago. And a lot has changed. And a lot of people now, when we talked about normal was not working then, it's before the new normal became a kind of catchphrase, and it's something I still challenge. So normal was not working. We do need to create something better than normal. So defining normal, well, I think it is with the benefit of hindsight that we can clearly see that the normal we experienced before the pandemic was not working. I think though that this was a false normal. Our increasingly unrelating pace of life and the transition to a more online environment has distanced us from a sense of reality. With the advent of fake news, social media echo chambers, and that non-stop interference of work into our social time via our phones and tablets, we have barely had time to stop and reflect on the world around us. The question is, has the pandemic actually reintroduced us to a more authentic normal? Not a new normal, but a normal that we forgot. We have a stronger sense of community and responsibility. It feels like we've lost sight of some of the values that we're now beginning to see again. We do need to do something far better than the old normal going forward. And I'm in no doubt that the moral and social responsibility will play an essential role in life, both at home and at work going forward. Now, coronavirus, we talked a little while ago, I launched a little while ago, a challenge to social responsibility, CSR as it's called, corporate social responsibility. And we wanted to talk about the sea change for CSR. We wanted to remove the word corporate as the dominant word and think about how C should be more inclusive, because we think that social responsibility is for all organisations, private, public and third sector. So we've redefined the C in CSR to mean more than corporate. It actually stands for company, for those smaller businesses. It stands for community, for schools and prisons, local authorities. It stands for charity, for the third sector. It stands for consumer, for purchasing and buying, and citizen, for us. And it also stands for so many other things. Vicky identified in a recent workshop that the C is about caring. It's also about working collectively and in collaboration with each other. So I think we can see that the C is more inclusive. But of course, the big C change we've just had is the coronavirus. Since February, the world has changed dramatically, and the focus on social responsibility has become far more important. We are already witnessing some incredible acts of kindness and support for struggling businesses, charities, and individuals. This will become normal as consumers and stakeholders expect increased social value from the businesses they are engaged with. And we were already seeing this. The Blue Planet ushered in a new era in which people recognised that businesses needed to act with more moral and social responsibility. The question is, how do they show what good looks like? How do they show the impact? I think this is hugely important, and there is business happening on trust and a lot of goodwill. It's also about building relationships rather than just price, which is how it used to be. Over the past few years, employers have recognised their workforce's need for both care and purpose. And in light of recent events, this is more important now than ever. It is likely that when we return to the office, businesses will have both the opportunity and desire to rethink their approach to well-being and culture. We have to learn and build back better. I'm going to ask Vicky to talk a little bit about philanthropy and the idea that modern consumers do want to do business with companies that are socially minded. So, as I say, we're looking at what's the cost of supporting a charity against what the benefit is. Of course, there is a cost, but we do want to show that it is an investment. Vicky, would you like to chip in? That'd be great.
Thanks, Richard. I can never say the word philanthropy, so bear with me. Modern consumers want to do business with companies that are socially minded. In fact, most people would rather patronise a business that is also serving the community in some way, in addition to making a profit. Therefore, it makes business sense and can positively impact your bottom line to think about how to become philanthropically engaged in your community if you haven't done so already. We've talked about acts of kindness and how they can make a big difference. We know that caring and acts of kindness are not just nice things to do. This is a key trend, showing a customer that you care like a friend. And that can be through face-to-face interaction or sharing positive stories through social media. It's a trend that, when it becomes a habit, will be something that your business will be remembered for. The cost, in terms of 5 ways of giving, well, there isn't a cost, it's an investment. So when a business is looking at working with a charity, for example, there are all sorts of benefits. And they include volunteering, pro bono support, donations, gifting an item or service, so skill sharing, setting up fundraisers, that's the traditional method, and all sorts of ways in which they can help. So acts of kindness are a positive business. Next slide, I think that one. Thank you. Companies often favour suppliers who have responsible policies, since this can reflect on how their customers see them. Some customers don't just prefer to deal with responsible companies, they insist on it. A corporation's public image is at the mercy of its social responsibility programmes. Remember, consumers feel good shopping at institutions that help the community. Clean up your public image and broadcast it to the world. Supporting a cause that aligns with your expertise can be both a win for community partners and the organisation, with new customer visibility and revenue streams. Kind gestures are an important force in the way we conduct our personal and professional lives. It builds trust, loyalty, and improves the reputation of your business. According to a recent US study, 87% of consumers would purchase a product based on a company supporting a social or environmental issue the consumer cares about. Consumers are rewarding socially responsible companies through brand loyalty, making donations to charities companies support, and purchasing products that provide a social benefit. One of the interesting companies that I have come across with some of the research that I've done would be Innocent Drinks. So, for example, when they founded, you can find them in every UK supermarket after several years of amazing growth from a small startup company. And actually, the founders put CSR at the heart of their agenda, and they do actually credit a lot of their success to their CSR policy. And there's many companies that you can think of that work in this way. So Ella's Kitchen would be another one. There's all sorts of organisations that started with that ethos right at the heart of what they do. So I'm going to hand back to Richard, who's going to talk to you about emotional investment.
So I think what I wanted to do there was kind of look at that the thing, you know, when a business engages with a charity, traditionally, you know, it's considered, you know, an act of giving in some kind, and potentially a cost. And in terms of that kind of shareholder questionability about why we should support charities and what's in it for us, etc., etc. Whereas, you know, we feel that, as I say, you know, giving isn't necessarily financial. It can be done in terms of time giving as well, and in pro bono giving. But also we're looking at not that one-off act of giving, but that building of a relationship that can last for years, so that you can start to share the impact. So, you know, what is that return? Well, I'm going to start looking at the different ways of investment. And one of those things that we can't sometimes miss is emotional investment. This is about enriching the quality of our lives. Social responsibility is a powerful emotional investment that has a positive impact on stakeholders and makes us feel good because it's about something good. Something that I almost forget when we deliver social responsibility programs and talks is that, you know, social responsibility makes you feel good because it's about something good. It's about doing something positive and giving purpose and value. Often, we often talk about the tangible benefits of having a social responsibility policy, the ones that have a clear and easily measurable outcome. But what are those intangible benefits? So obviously the tangible benefits we know are improved recruitability, you know, reduced absenteeism. We know that it's about being an employer of choice. We know that it's about saving money on training and on building better engagement with your staff in terms of team building. We also know that it has an impact on becoming an investment as well. The London Stock Exchange has made it very clear that future investment will only go to businesses that deliver their social responsibility. So we see lots of very tangible benefits for social responsibility, lots of drivers. And also a generational change in values. So Generation Z and the millennial generations who are coming into the workplace looking for value and purpose for the companies that they work for. But we don't think about those intangible benefits. And social responsibility is a powerful emotional investment because it has an impact on, because it actually does make us feel good. It's a way to add value and give a greater purpose to our time beyond the job role and title. It is about giving, not just taking. How can we help our staff, customers and supply chain? What do they expect from us? Are we listening to what people are saying? Do we understand their values and what matters to them? Social responsibility allows employers to enrich the quality of their staff's lives by including CSR as part of their job description. You can develop CSR initiatives that make your employees proud. And you can use a CSR strategy to protect and grow your biggest asset, which are your employees. The impact we make by supporting staff and looking after the environment and supporting community projects and charities makes us proud and happy, and which has a positive impact on mental health and well-being, productivity and engagement. The relationship between a company and its employees can have a big impact on the relationship between a company and its customers. Organisations should embrace their workplace CSR as a part of their business model. Existing and potential employee values are rapidly changing with the business models and the need to strive for sustainability. It's interesting to know that 87% of employees now expect their employer to support them in balancing their work and personal commitments. Providing the right support is not a luxury, it is actually a necessity. Some businesses are taking this a step forward by encouraging their people to take on skill-based placements within the community and third sector, which benefit both their employees and those they're helping, by giving employees the opportunity to give something back. Employers have found a way to give their people purpose outside of their jobs, and it's certainly a worthwhile endeavour, with 89% of volunteers reported increased job satisfaction and 87% of volunteers reported greater pride in their company. After all, the common good is our good. And I think I just want to follow up on some of that because we are now starting to look at that two-way exchange of value between the third sector and the private sector. It's not so much what a business can offer a charity, it's what a charity can offer a business and how charities can actually help businesses show what good looks like. How charities can actually help businesses become a better employer, how charities can help businesses recruit and engage staff and actually attract investment and so on and so forth. So, a good example, although I know I heard this morning that there are going to be some redundancies, but with the Post Office who engaged with Mind UK, and as a result of that relationship, the Post Office staff were asked what they cared about. They cared about mental health and well-being. They chose Mind UK as a charity to support, and they delivered pro bono volunteering, financial giving, fundraising over a 2-year period. The interesting thing is, after the first year, Mind UK had worked with the staff of the post office, and in a survey had shown that mental health and wellbeing had significantly improved in the workplace. And at the end of the second year, the post office published a £2 million saving in reduced absenteeism. So what we see was a beautiful harmony between the long-term relationship between a charity and a business. So the benefit, the cost benefit to both was significant. And actually, I think this is about building a legacy, how social responsibility has a positive impact and delivers that purpose and value. Traditionally, you know, you would get a job, you would go to work, you do your job, and you would go home, and that's what would be expected of you. Whereas I think now there's something more. As I said, 87% of employees now expect more from their businesses than just the job title and the wage. And it's about including the staff on that social responsibility journey. We start to look at beneficiaries and benefactors, financial value and social value. So beneficiaries is where the social value lies, and the benefactors where the financial value lies. An example of that is if, as a business, you allow your staff to deliver volunteering. What you're doing is you're delivering social value to your staff. You're giving them that sense of purpose and sense of commitment. But what you're giving to you as the benefactor is you're giving yourself financial value, because you're increasing the happiness of your staff and therefore the productivity. You're increasing the reduced absenteeism and reduced presenteeism and leaveism as well. So in other words, you know, by investing in your staff and delivering that social value, you're actually creating financial value. And that works across the 4 pillars we've established for social responsibility, being environment, workplace, community, and philanthropy. But certainly within the community and philanthropy pillars, you know, we're looking at how we can see that investment in terms of social value and financial value. It's really about how you then report and share that information. And I think it's almost a kind of contractual duty of a relationship between a charity and a business to deliver the social impact reporting, so that when a business supports a charity through whatever of the 5 ways of giving, that charity has an obligation to report the benefit that has had on their charity. And that information can be shared through social media. Actually, what it creates is positive news telling. And we, you know, a little phrase we use a lot within CSRA is that, you know, in order to deliver good storytelling, you have to show story doing. And to be able to show story doing, you've got to evidence it and show the impact and the effect that has. Vicky's going to have a little talk to you about, you know, corporate partnerships and the importance of building that long-term relationship between charities and businesses.
Thanks, Richard. So yet another positive impact corporate social responsibility has on non-profit organisations is the possibility of corporate partnerships. So charities and businesses need to build long-term, value-driven relationships, and that actually is the key. So the value has to go both ways, which he's already alluded to, and it needs to be able to show through impact reporting and communication to internal and external audiences how that works. So there's a whole circle that needs to happen here. One of the examples that worked really well for me when I was working for a charity was that we built a 10-year relationship actually with a shopping centre. So we were able to, as a charity, go into that shopping centre. We were able to collect funds. We were able to increase volunteering opportunities. We were able to run events, etc., etc. Over that 10 years, we helped the business raise their profile through our PR, marketing, social media. We were able to raise the charity's profile as a result of being linked to them. We raised £100,000 over that time, and we increased our volunteering team. So there are benefits both ways, as we've said. And what a charity can do to help a business is, firstly, there's 5 essential points. One is to understand the company's CSR objectives, be clear about that, research it, and know it. Number 2 would be to align and look for organisations that meet your charity's values and that are in a similar industry area, so that when you're talking to them, you're making sense. You're speaking the same language. An example might be child bereavement charity, talking to Legoland, for example. Legoland can then, you know, support them in lots of different ways. Number 3 would be know what you're asking for. Be clear about how you want that relationship to work. Be clear about the projects that you have that need supporting, and make sure that you have a case for that. Number 4 would be build a relationship through trust and transparency. Make sure that you are honest with them, that you are upfront, that you are authentic, and that you can be trusted. And number 5 would be work in partnership to achieve both the charity's goals and the business objectives. So you need to have that conversation right at the start of your relationship to know what you both want to achieve from it, and then you can work towards making that happen. So I'm going to pass back to Richard, who's going to talk to you about investing in financial and social value.
So I think we're beginning to see that there is a strategy here, a structure that enables charities and businesses to have a conversation with each other above the, traditionally, a charity will be talking about the funding that they need to support whatever it is that that charity is set up for. And that's where the conversation often starts. And a business may be looking to support somebody, an organisation or a community project. And again, they may be purely looking at that because they've got a social conscience and they want to deliver something good. But actually we're starting to understand that there's so much more to this, and what COVID's done, especially in the last 6 or 7 or 8 weeks, is it's shown the importance of community and working together and supporting each other. And we are trying to kind of establish a language and a dialogue that can help businesses, and charities work together to exploit, the benefits that each of them needs to achieve their own objectives. And as Vicky said, it's very important to align yourselves with the businesses that you think match your value sets, but it's also important for businesses to align themselves with the charities that their staff care about. A good example is a customer we're working with at the moment who build care homes. They build homes for people who are dependent, live in apartments, but they have supported living and extra care on site to support them in old age. And an area that we have identified with them that is important is social isolation, which is something we can all identify with at the moment. This project we developed 6 months ago, and it meant that we helped co-write a policy on social isolation, identifying that out of the 5.4 million people over the age of 75, 3.1 million of them live alone. And what was interesting about this was the strategic way in which that business built that policy into their business structure. They wrote a policy around social isolation, so whenever they build a care home, they now engage with the local authority, identify where social isolation exists in the community, and they make sure that that building allows that community to come into that care home, share the restaurant, share the common spaces, that there's a policy in place that leaves a legacy that goes on years and years and years after. And furthermore to that, they have then allowed every member of their staff to have 1 hour off a week to spend time working with a local charity that will introduce them to people living on their own. So they will go and visit people within 3 or 4 miles of their offices and have a cup of tea and a cup of coffee once a week, with obviously a charity involved. And that's given both an internal engagement program and an external engagement program as well. So it works really nicely. So a structured CSR program is the practical step developed out of an organisation's set of meaning, belief and values, namely its culture. This sets out that an organisation's ethical responsibility for its operational impact on society is integrated into the culture, and so a CSR culture is born and defined as shared meaning, belief and values, underpinned by the notion of the business's sustainability. It is a powerful force that gives meaning to people's lives, reduces uncertainty and creates stability, but is also the determinant of success or failure of an organisation. Mark Carney famously said last year that businesses not delivering on their environmental sustainability would not survive in business. I'm going to go further than that and say that businesses that are not delivering on their social responsibility will not survive in business in the long term. There is now an increasing recognition that a structured social responsibility programme can be used as a source of competitive advantage through good corporate governance, effective execution of innovative social projects, and ethical management. In order to maximise this potential, it is essential for organisations to smartly communicate their CSR efforts, i.e. the culture, the things that make them a caring company and different from their competitors, to ensure that consumers view them as driven by intrinsic, genuine, rather than extrinsic profit-led motivations. There is no doubt about the impact of social responsibility and profitability for an organisation. The financial value of social responsibility can be seen across all of the 4 CSR pillars of workplace environment, community and philanthropy. A social responsibility strategy can help you, the managing director, the business owner or the senior executive, to set better goals, to make better decisions and improve your relationships. The CSR programme will improve many business functions like streamlining the hiring process, improving turnover, building a great team, as well as increased profits, sales and customer service. CSR simply is about the future. It's about discovering your sustainable potential and achieving it. But it's also about delivering social value and investment in something much bigger than the organisation. It will help you with clarity about what you want to get out of business from your life. It becomes a roadmap for delivering greater purpose and value for all stakeholders. By caring about the workforce, the environment, and supporting the community and charities, a business can dramatically improve its reputation, brand visibility, customer and staff loyalty, and provide long-term sustainability. In fact, last year, one of the US's most powerful business groups abandoned the shareholder-first idea that has driven capitalism for decades. The Business Roundtable said the pursuit of shareholder interests is no longer the central purpose of corporate America. Companies should focus on social responsibility as well as profits. It is widely accepted today that organisations have a relationship with the communities in which they operate. This relationship should be based on community engagement and involvement to promote and contribute to community development and the environment. Community involvement, either individually or through associations seeking to enhance the public good, helps to strengthen civil society. An organisation's contribution to community development can help to promote high levels of mental health and well-being in the community and in the workplace, for example, through apprenticeships, skills training and work placements. So I think you can see that there is a huge positive benefit, not just financial value, but through social value in supporting charities in the third sector and community projects. Social responsibility is not a cost, it is an investment. In our experience, many organisations are already doing lots of great things. They often do not realise that they all contribute to the success both financially and reputationally of their business. Getting the small things right can really instill pride and a strong culture within an organisation. When an employee is asked by a family member or a friend, how is your job going? They don't often respond, yes, it's great, we had a pre-tax profits of X amount of million and so on and so forth. They often say, yeah, my boss is great. The company lets me work from home, has flexible work times, and the company has a volunteer day, and this has helped a local charity, and this makes me feel really proud. A good example is a company that we worked at, one of our accredited companies, who decided that they were going to engage with the Chiltern Rangers, an environmental charity in Buckinghamshire that helps support the local environment. What they did was use effectively the social rangers as a team building day. But what the Children Rangers were able to do was plan that activity around the area that their offices were based in. What you ended up having was a fantastic situation in which the business benefited from team leadership, from skills building, and from engagement. The charity benefited from support by that business. The environment benefited from that business and the charity delivering an outcome by cleaning up litter and creating better biodiversity. And the community benefited better by watching a local business taking an interest in the community that it operates in. As I said, businesses are not apart from society, they are part of it. And I think this is about making that connectivity a really strong one. I think what we've tried to do here is highlight the benefits to your organisation of a more socially responsible approach and areas to consider. This can be done through your own reviews or a structured social responsibility program. And our accreditation program can help you with that if you wish. Everything we have discussed counts towards an organisation's social responsibility commitment. Each pillar is designed to help you audit, benchmark, improve and impact report on areas such as energy, travel, health and wellbeing, community engagement and supporting charities. This forms the basis of an ongoing social responsibility policy, which will help you face and meet the challenges ahead. So I think it's good to use this time to demonstrate your commitment to others. Social responsibility makes us feel good because the message is about something good. It's not just an investment in your business, but in your staff and helping to enrich the quality of their life's value and purpose. Social responsibility allows employers to engage on so many different levels: HR, mental health and well-being, recruitment, skills training, inclusivity, and also building reputation, not only with their customers, but within their supply chain and with their shareholders and stakeholders. You will see a significant return in investment through improved reputation on an engaged and productive workforce, becoming that employer of choice, and successful investment in changeling, and of course, consumer loyalty. So we would strongly suggest that you become accredited to show the value of your social purpose and your commitment to a greater vision for future generations. The accreditation program is a really great way to start your CSR journey. And as I've said earlier on, and I think this is absolutely typical of everyone that we've met and discussed with in the last 2 or 3 years, is that nearly all businesses are doing these things. They just aren't communicating and making the best of them. And those businesses that are already supporting charities, we urge you to build that relationship and create better engagement, and actually, invite that charity into the office, to show what they do, to get the staff involved in that, and or vice versa, to invite the business to the charity, so that you're putting faces to people, and that you're actually starting to build a relationship, and to show that impact reporting, and most importantly, to share that impact reporting internally and externally. So use it to deliver brilliant social media storytelling, brilliant blogging, brilliant news stories, and ultimately to contribute to a social impact report that you can actually use to show all audiences that you are a ethical, moral and socially responsible business. So that brings us to the end of the presentation part of the webinar. We hope this has been thought-provoking and helped your organisation to become resilient, not to this crisis, but to how we develop and grow in the future. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite anyone to share experiences, ask questions. Vicky and I are here to help, as is Maxine, and I know that some other members on the call also have experience and backgrounds within the third or private sector. So please do contribute and ask a question if you have them.
Thanks, Richard. Please feel free to unmute everyone and direct your questions to Richard and Vicky.
Richard, this is Jairo.
Hi there.
Just sent you a message you may have seen. Brilliant presentation, thank you very much. And the 5 points of the research and the planning that charities should do in order to be able to approach companies is extremely important that it is done. Now, my question is about the multitude of very small charities, or sometimes even chapters of national charities, who are manned by volunteers, usually without much skills. I'm part of various ones because of my son being autistic. I'm part of the National Autistic Society of Bucks. I've been helping other local charities. These kind of charities, we do not have the manpower, the research, or the skills to be able to do the homework and then approach a company to say, come and help us. They can barely survive doing their own small things. So my question is, how could our charity environment and all the companies that are involved in that be able to help these very crucial and important charities to be able to approach either companies to help them, or even going to Hearts of Box or any of the many groups that provide funding to be able to help with local causes, when often these charities, we don't even have the skill, the manpower of the time to be able to approach those places to get some funding.
Thank you for that question. And actually, we have Mark with us today, who is from Heart of Bucks, and I can't stress the importance of working with your community foundation trusts as a broker to help small charities deliver that visibility to the business community. And I think that there is a lot of work being done there to create that corporate engagement with charities, but also to use organisations like Bucks Business First and other membership groups to kind of do that work for you. So in other words, by being a member of business networks, you're able to promote your charity. BBF has a very strong social responsibility commitment and delivers a charitable newsletter. So I think you're right. I mean, we are aware that a lot of the smaller charities and the micro charities do struggle in the side of the business in which they're trying to develop the relationships with local businesses. But there are, no end of local business networks, from BNI to Biscotti groups to Chamber of Commerce and so on and so forth, as well as the community foundation networks that I think you can tap into. And I think, any of those organisations, with the right approach, would be more than happy to help support and connect you with those businesses. It is a two-way thing. So it's not just, what I'm trying to suggest today is it's not just about businesses, charities looking for businesses to support them. It's also about businesses looking for charities. There is definitely an increased appetite for the private sector now to be engaged on a more socially responsible path. And there's, we've in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've had so much more interest in businesses saying, look, we need to do something. How can we do that? So it's a question of creating that matchmaking, I suppose, that dating service for charities and businesses. And as I say, through community foundation trusts, through business networks, you can achieve that.
I would also add, in terms of sort of practicalities, I would look for any warm leads that you have within your organisation. So what I mean by that is, if you have a group of volunteers that you're working with, what connections do they have? Who do they know that you can make an approach through? So it might be worth just doing a small survey just to see if anyone has any particular leads that would be useful. Perhaps just send something around and say, what's your top 5 recommendations? Where can we go with this? It's also worth working with your local CVR, so your voluntary organisation. They have lots of ways in which they can help through training, funding support, volunteer support, all sorts of different avenues you can go down there. And as Richard said, community foundations. So again, it's really just working with the sector and also networking and looking for people that will help you because they have an interest in what you do.
Thank you, Vicky.
I work for a charity, and I would just completely echo what both Richard and Vicky have said, and also just to have some really powerful case studies on hand. As you say, you're a dad with a son with autism. That's really powerful, and that's what will get people. You talking about that, and just have, as Richard mentioned in the presentation, just have a really clear ask of what do you actually need, what are you actually asking that company for, and the benefits. So even though you're a small charity, you might not have much manpower, there'll be something that will be of a business benefit, and whether that is engagement with the local community that they can then shout about, that's actually really big. Even though you might think from a charity point of view that it's quite small, that is quite big. I've got quite a lot of charity experience, so if you want to find me on LinkedIn, you're very, very welcome to, and we can have a chat offline about it as well.
It's also worth remembering that every charity started somewhere.
I think it's also worth remembering as well is to take it fairly easy and just take off small bite-sized chunks rather than going for a mass email or mass phone call type of publicity. What you tend to find, what I've tended to find in my personal experiences from a business cold calling point of view, is that it's far easier to do 1 or 2 a week or a month rather than having a blast and then forgetting all about it for the next 6 months. it's a consistency that you require to build up that type of network for the people that you're actually targeting.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for that. I think what I take from this, which is rather important, would be we need to approach business groups like BBF or different groups to help us how to do that. And we've done the cold calling. We sit down, who do you know? Who do I know? You know, I'm very well connected with Hearts of Box, for instance. So I went there and very quickly found out, yes, we can apply for these 4 particular trusts to get some funding. Then the question comes back saying, where are your statistics? Where is your data? How many autistic children have you helped before? Are they from the north of the county, from the south of the county? Are they between 12 years and 13 years? And we haven't got a clue. You know we've helped a lot of people. The organization throughout the years have helped a lot of people. We just don't have the ability to go and put that into numbers and fill out all the forms and do all the due process that we need to do and prove that we are a registered charity and get the right letters. So there is a lot of work. But what I'm taking from this is the approach for us needs to be to approach those of you who are in the call or BBF to see how we can get that help, because our story is a social, very important story that we do like to tell. But if we were able to get those manpower resources to be able to help us build the statistics or build the cases, that will give us a massive leap forward if we could do that. So thank you all for that answer.
Yeah, no, thank you for that feedback as well. And I think it is a bit of everything. I mean, we would strongly urge, however big you are as an organisation, both, as a business or a charity, is to try and put some, weekly or fortnightly or monthly time in to kind of always have that editorial meeting where you just go through a simple list of actions that you can deliver. So, working with the business membership groups is one thing, but I think, looking at that good list, doing what Mark talked about, we talk in another webinar about making sure that you don't overreach your capacity, that you don't overset your goal setting, that you're doing something within the capability of what you're able to achieve. Otherwise, you'll just let yourself down. So, and then look at the different channels that which you can use. So, it is also very useful, having that, regular time. If you can put that time in, it doesn't need to be a lot, but just to sort of post on LinkedIn, just to put something out on Facebook, if that's what you're using, just to have, make those couple of calls, and then to have just a little look at what the local business directory is offering, because, as well as Bucks Business First, there are, as I said, a load of membership groups, and most membership groups are, give favourable rates or support for the third sector, and if you're looking at smaller, for example, you've got the Marlow Chamber of Commerce and the Chiltern Chamber of Commerce, whose subscription fees are, sort of £50 a year. So in other words, you're not paying a lot, but you get into an environment, a community in which you can tap into those businesses. Into those businesses. Does anyone else have any? Isabel, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you very much for that. I'm new to the corporate team at Rennie Grove Hospice Care. So this has just been great for me because I'm currently in the research stage of looking at new, potential corporate partners. So this is great. I think it's kind of going to make me refocus on how we can focus on, shared values and everything. Because as a hospice service, I think we like to focus on community and the home, especially. So yeah, we're targeting quite a lot at the moment, but I definitely want to just start with the ones that are probably most appropriate. So thank you. This has been probably the best webinar I've been to in this lockdown for me. It's been really good. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that feedback. That's lovely to hear as well. And I think it is, obviously it's recorded and we want to, we will continue these webinars. We'll rerun them, but I think it is helping charities and businesses have a conversation with each other. We find in our experience that there is a desirability there, but people don't necessarily know the language. And I think if we can sort of say, look, this is about social responsibility. This is a compass that will help both sides navigate their way forward and actually show how there's so much value beyond the obvious. As businesses, and charities start to recognise that, we've got so many good case studies now that we're building of those really good duplicate, relationships in which both organisations have benefited benefited and been delivered. That ongoing, as I say, you know, it's so important to look at that ongoing relationship as well. I can't remember what the figures are now, but it's something like, I probably shouldn't even guess it. I'm not going to try and guess at it, but you know, the UK is very strong in its SME market. There are millions of SMEs as opposed to the tens of thousands of charities. There's plenty of businesses out there to support the third sector. And if we can help build those bridges, then we'll be doing a very good job.
I think I haven't got a question, Richard or Vicky, but an observation. And first of all, thank you, both of you, for a very clear and thought-provoking presentation. I really enjoyed it, I guess my observations are a bit like Heidi in the fact that from a business point of view, the small businesses, the one-man bands, the small SMEs also have a real issue with regard to prioritisation. And to date, and I think you're right, Richard, with regard to what you said, now should be a sea change, but to date, getting that priority right with regard to the bottom line and keeping your customers happy vis-a-vis looking after your staff and providing a social responsible outlook to the local community has always been really difficult. And finding the time to do that has always been really difficult. I was really heartened to hear what you said about that American corporate talking about changing their focus from shareholder to people on corporate responsibility. I think that is, if we could get that across to the UK, I think that would be a massive sea change with regard to what we all want to do. But it's webinars like this. It's the input of the likes of the Heart of Bucks going out to businesses and talking about the importance of working with them and helping the businesses achieve what they actually want to do, I think is all very key to what you're talking about. So you've given me some added enthusiasm to go out and do something about it. Thank you very much indeed.
And just to sort of touch on that before we wrap up, I was asked in another webinar, look, you know, why would we want to do this? Because we're too busy, especially now in crisis, we're too busy saving our business. We haven't got time, you know, and I think my answer is this is how you're going to save your business. You know, so in other words, social responsibility is the language of business. It's the language of marketing. And you know, it's so important that, you know, when business says, well, what we need to do is engage our staff. We need to invest in what we're doing in the future. We need to attract talent. And social responsibility will help you do all of those things. And it's just a question of people getting the penny to drop. This is what they need to be doing. They need to think of this as an important ingredient in the success of their business. And if they don't do it, they won't survive. We've already seen that the businesses that are delivering acts of kindness and community support are the businesses that build the loyalty and advocacy of the consumers. People go back. And the businesses that aren't doing that already, you know, their damage to their reputation is unrepairable. We only have to look at the Virgins of the world and others, British Airways and you know, and so on and so forth, to see that there's been, you know, damage, irreparable damage to those brand reputations.
People remember as well. They remember the bad things. So yeah, I always remember the Ratner's conversation. I mean, that's going back a bit, and I'm probably showing my age, but when he said that all his stuff was crap, his business folded, basically.
and the consumer is, you know, as I say, it's not us and them anymore. You know, there was a thing where you know, corporate business would drive everything forward, whereas actually consumers are voting with their feet. They are now having an influence on purchasing and buying decisions. And we know that in universities in the UK, it's 82% of students in the UK actively look on a business's website for their social responsibility before applying for a job. Yeah. You know, that's not a driver on its own right. I don't know what is. And we know that consumer buying, you know, patterns are based around businesses doing the right thing. And the final thing I'm going to leave you with, because I think this is actually a conversation I had before this webinar this morning. was around, we are seeing this kind of change from globalization to localization. And what COVID's done in the last 2 months is it's shown how important it is to support each other in our communities. And I think businesses will be looking around at their local community to see how they can help and support. And by doing that, like I've said, they are enriching the quality of lives of their staff, making those staff more productive and happier. Now, I've got no doubt in the short term, we're going to see a little bit of doom. There's going to be a painful recession. There will be a lot of jobs lost. A lot of companies will struggle. But also, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of silver linings. And I'm sure the bounce back will be quite quick and swift. And I think the new world will be a better world. That's my optimistic take on it. And, it's not to say there won't be crowds of people on Bournemouth Beach being whatever, but as we were just saying with Maxine before we started, I think the very vast majority of us, want the right thing and want to do the right thing. So thank you everyone for your time. I'll let Maxine wrap up, and this will be available on the BBF events library in due course.